Okay, let's install TensorFlow 2.0 for the Macintosh. Now this is Macintosh CPU. GPU is not really supported. There's some very complex ways that you can support GPU in the Mac, but fundamentally, Mac doesn't support GPU as well because Macs come with AMD video cards, and TensorFlow works primarily with CUDA, NVIDIA. Now, if you're interested in Windows, that's another video. The link is in the description. I also have a video on how to install Windows GPU. Hi, this is Jeff Heaton. Welcome to Applications of Deep Neural Networks with Washington University. To see all my videos about Kaggle, neural networks, and other AI topics, click the subscribe button and the bell next to it and select all to be notified of every new video. Okay, we're starting with a fresh install of Mac OS X 10.15 Catalina. I do this on a laptop that I don't use for anything else. I just wipe it, complete install, so there should be no side effects. Now, I usually go through this each semester with about 80 students, so I know most of the things that can go wrong with installing Python and Keras TensorFlow on the Macintosh. I'll take you through some of the things that can go wrong. If everything's working right, you may want to skip my descriptions of some of the errors, but we'll keep this very quick. I'll fast forward through the parts of this that take more time. Overall, this install takes about 20 minutes for the Mac. You can see all the steps listed here. I also have a about the environmental script setup. There's a script that I provide to you, and I describe just kind of how that captures some of the installation processes. I will update this script as the semester goes forward, as TensorFlow makes changes that require some changes to this process. I'll only re-record the video if the process has changed substantially to the point that I can no longer just change the install script. This installs both TensorFlow for the command line and also for Jupyter notebooks. At this point, you're ready to hook it up to an IDE if you choose to do one of those. I do have a separate video for PyCharm. Step 1, we're going to download MiniConda. Use Chrome or whatever your favorite browser happens to be. So go ahead and search for the MiniConda installation for Python. MiniConda is just the minimal version of the Anaconda Python environment, and all of these basically have the mathematical and artificial intelligence packages that you typically need already installed. You still have to install TensorFlow on top of it, though. It's critical that you choose a 64-bit version of Python. 32 bits is just not supported with TensorFlow. Also, use whatever the latest version. You see 3.7 here. If the latest version becomes 3.8 or later, install that. We're going to later create a virtual environment that has whatever version of Python TensorFlow is currently needing. Okay, with that downloaded, go ahead and open up the package file that you downloaded. Now this is an executable type file, so you may get this error that you're seeing from the Mac. You'll need to go into security and specifically clear it so that it can run. So here I'm going into the security settings. You'll want to click on the General tab if it starts you out in privacy like I was there. And you just go down and say Open Anyway. Of course you have to unlock it. Just enter your password, and now you can click Open Anyway. And it lets you open it. There we can see the beginning of the Anaconda. Accept the license agreement. You don't need to change the installation location. It does want your password again. And now it is installing. We will fast forward through this part because this does take a little while. Step 3, let's install Jupyter. Now you need to open up a Mac terminal like I just did. This is going to install it into the base, into the main Python environment. So you do conda install Jupyter. That's really all it takes. Now this is running. We're going to fast forward through this part because this does take a while. Step 4, we're going to download the environmental setup script. Go ahead and search for Jeff Heaton GitHub. That takes you to my GitHub repository, which you see here. That's a great GitHub page, so go ahead and follow me if you want. You'll see all the latest updates as I make changes to this. Go into here. That is my class repository, T81558. It's the WashU course number. Scroll down and you will find the YAML file. There it is, tensorflow.yml. It's the same file for Mac and Windows. Open it up like I have here, and you're going to essentially save it somewhere, like I'm doing there. And I'm just going to save it right to my user directory and make sure it ends in YML. Before we continue, let's have a look at this file and see what's all packed into here. Now this may look different because I will update this. This is the name of the virtual environment that you're creating. So this can be a completely different version of Python and everything under your main install. These are the dependencies. This is what you're actually installing into there. Notice I am putting in Python 3.7. If later versions of TensorFlow support newer versions, and they don't always do that right up front, I will update that. I'll move that to 3.8 as soon as I'm able to. These are the other packages, and if they're version dependent, I will put a double equals on there, or single equals actually in this case, and lock them to something. There's also pip installs. The ones at the top are conda installs, and pip installs are just two different ways of installing things. Okay, step 5, we're going to run that environmental script. Now from wherever you're at, run the conda env create command that I have here. I also have this command in the description to the video, so you can just copy and paste it. This command will create the TensorFlow environment that contains the appropriate version of Python and all the packages that you need for my class, which are very general purpose packages that you would need to do most things as far as starting out with TensorFlow. So we're going to fast forward through this part here because this does take a while to completely install all those packages. Okay, step 6, we're going to test TensorFlow from the command line. I am activating the TensorFlow environment that we just created using that file that you downloaded from me. See how the base prompt has changed to TensorFlow? We are now ready to test that out. Now, if you skip that step, you will probably see that TensorFlow can't be found. Now I go into Python, I use the Python command, and I'm importing TensorFlow as TF. It should take a moment here. That indicates that it's working. If you get an error here, you will see probably that it can't find the TensorFlow module. Make sure that you actually created that sub-environment because that's where TensorFlow actually lives. Okay, now we can print out the version number of TensorFlow, print TF version. Should be 2.0, so that worked. Okay, we're going to quit Python. Now let's try it again. We're doing Python, but notice I did not switch into my TensorFlow environment. This is simulating an error. Now I'm going to import it. This will happen very quickly. Import TensorFlow as TF, no module error. So if you're seeing this error, it means you probably have not installed TensorFlow somehow. Now if I conda activate TensorFlow, now it's there and it would work. Step 7, install kernel for Jupyter. So now we go to a DOS prompt, terminal prompt in Mac, and we are going to basically create the kernel. See this command that I'm giving here? Make sure you're in the TensorFlow environment. See how I have TensorFlow in parentheses in front of that? This command is fairly long, so you'll want to copy it for my description. This will create the actual kernel inside of Jupyter so that Jupyter is able to find your TensorFlow environment that you just created. It's very important that you execute this command. Step 8, we're going to test Jupyter now. So we open up a command prompt. We start Jupyter Notebook. Now on Mac, you do not necessarily have to be in your TensorFlow environment. You can run it from anywhere. Here's where we see these two kernels that we have. If you are missing the TensorFlow one, it means that previous command that we just did probably didn't work. And you can also do them from change kernel. So now we're in Jupyter. Let's go ahead and import TensorFlow as TF. And we're going to print out the version number. We run it, takes a moment, but it prints out 2.0. That's good, that's successful. If you don't have that, Google your errors or post them in the comments. Okay, you should have an environment all set up and ready to go. If you ran into some problems, then definitely post a comment or Google to try to find your answer. Thank you for watching this video, and if you found this kind of thing interesting, please subscribe to my YouTube channel.